Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Lee, and we're coming back to take another look at Line of Defense. The other day, I actually made a video regarding this game, just kind of going over what I could find in regards to the game, its gameplay, and what was available in it. Just kind of doing what I could to give it a fair, unbiased review as well as I could. Now, that being said, the video's been viewed, not a lot, but a few times, and it was posted up by myself as well as a few other people on the Steam forums directly related to the Line of Defense game itself. Derek Smart has gone ahead and given me a response in regards to my review and what I might have missed in the process of reviewing his game. So I wanted to kind of go over these today and give him a fair chance. He is the lead developer of this game. He has every right to defend it, and he has given me a few things that I can try here to see what we can do to alleviate any confusion that even my review might have caused. Now, in his post, Derek states that my review, in quotations, fair enough. It is what it is, and I'm not gonna complain about him questioning whether or not it's a review or not. But my review will just cause more confusion because it's an incoherent mess. All right. Well, I'm going to argue that the reason it might be an incoherent mess is because the game as it stands is a little bit of an incoherent mess. And that's perfectly understandable to a degree. It is a game that is in early access. It's going to take some time, and it does take some work to develop a game. Now, that being said, I would argue that whether or not the game merits the right to be in early access is in question. There is a question of that right now going on in the Steam forums. Some people say it's a perfectly legitimate game and that there is gameplay to be had here. I'm not going to say that that argument does not have merit. That's really kind of up to Valve and Steam to decide. It's not for me to say specifically that this game should not belong in early access. Some people consider that walking around the planets playing with the guns, that's gameplay. I think it requires a little bit more than that to really qualify for early access. On top of that, the game does sell for $10. The argument I did read made by Derek Smart as to why it was on early access was because it was the only way that he could test the Steam functions for his game, such as the sign in through the Steam button seen right here. He does make a good point. He does need a way to test that. Whether he's required to sell it for $10, I don't know. There might be a way around that, and there might not be, and maybe he felt justified in that, and that's up to him. But on top of that, he is selling what are called tactical packages for ranging from $20 to $60, which is just a package of guns that a person can purchase as downloadable content, and they would then have that access to those weapons starting out in the game. That might be okay, perfectly fine. In fact, I would have no problem with that whatsoever were this not an early access game. But it is, and it's a highly unfinished early access game. Therefore, I don't think that has any place in this in early access at all. But again, that's honestly not for me to judge. I probably shouldn't even say that, but regardless, that's where it stands right now. Now, on top of that, the first point that he makes is that I never, not once, opened up the quick help to find out how to get off the carrier. This despite the fact the keys displayed right there in the launch screen interface. I'm not certain. I think this is the launch screen interface he's referring to. They're not displayed right here. They are actually available here in the manual, which I'll show you in a minute because he has actually released an update today that gives the help commands to bring up not just the manual, but the commands as well as something else, I can't remember exactly what, right there on your screen. So we'll show that in just a moment. So that being said, I actually did read through the manual prior to the video I made before, and it's kind of long. It's fair enough for it to be a long manual for a game, but it's a pretty long manual, and some of the stuff I did forget, but regardless, that's just something else entirely. It had nothing to do with why I was lost on the ship. The second point he makes is that I have a starter kit. That's why the Starguard carrier, as indicated in the docs, is the only spawn location. I do recall reading that somewhere in the documentation. I don't know exactly where it was at, but I do recall reading that somewhere in the documentation. The third point he made: when you join, you are automatically connected to a server. You do not need to pick one, which is why when you picked connected server, the pop-up dialog told you, but you ignored it anyway and kept clicking. All right, so yesterday when I tried to log in initially by clicking the sign in through Steam button, well, let's go ahead and take a look. It brings you to, there we go. It brings you to this screen. Now on this screen, if I just click play, it'll automatically log me in. Now, however, when I was logging in just by clicking play, it would automatically kick me out. I tried that several times, and several times it just kicked me straight back to this screen or crashed entirely. So I came into the server selection because I'd watched a video previously where someone had indicated that you had to change to the US West 2 server to be able to log in. So I did so, and I was able to log in. Had no issues logging in after that. Now, being connected to the US 1 server right now, it works perfectly fine. Now, again, he did do an update today, so my belief is he probably rectified that issue, and that's perfectly fine. But I don't think it's fair to, pin it on me that it was my fault that I couldn't log into that server. So, let's go ahead and move on to the next point. To get off the Starguard to the planet below, you need to use a DJP. Again, it's the quick help and it's in the quick help and the full game docs, all accessible from within the game. Yes, the documentation is there, but it's not exactly the clearest documentation I've ever read. That being said, we did figure out how to get there. We got off the ship eventually, and that's fine. That documentation and those instructions could be quite a bit clearer. Finally, he says, and to top it all, when you spawn, you seem to ignore the 3D help system hovering near your spawn point, and which tells you how to get off the ship. So let's do that now. I'm going to go ahead and spawn in. I did actually reinstall this game. I got a brand new solid state drive now, so things load up quite a bit quicker. And it seems to be working quite a bit better because of that. Now, that being said, here I am, just spawned in. And I came in here and I searched and searched and searched and did not find what it was that he was referring to just above my head. I mean, there's this thing emitting some sort of a weird cone glow. I assume just a spawn point, but as far as I can tell, it doesn't do anything. And I mean, that's... He states that it's 3D help system hovering near your spawn point, and which tells you how to get off the ship. So I'm not really sure how near my spawn point this is, so let's look around. So I'd have to say no on that. No 3D spawn help system that I'm seeing anywhere. And that could, again, it could be a bug. Maybe he's not aware of it. Maybe it's something that needs to be reported. So consider this reported. One other thing I found that I didn't mention yesterday, and I found this after I had created the video, is that when I had stated that you seem to be in default run mode, I was wrong. So shift makes you walk. Not holding anything except for WASD makes you move at a normal pace, but if I hold down control, I will go shooting, and it's really kind of hard to control. It just sends you flying. And I think that is actually, yeah, too fast for me. So he then goes on to state that 12 minutes and lots of rambling later, you finally locate the HAIS Mark II suit. You then decide to pick a spot out in the middle of nowhere. This despite the fact that, well, you had a map. A fully detailed map right there in front of you showing you where showing you the populated areas. Alright, so let's go ahead and get to an airlock. I don't recall exactly where they are per se, so we'll just have to scramble till we find one and bounce off walls because I'm holding down control. I also did find out yesterday while I was playing around that if you pick up a grenade and you throw it, chances are it's going to crash the game on you. I'm not going to try and demo that today, but it does happen. And I reported it, so he should be aware of that. So I think maybe one of these over here is an airlock. Yep, there's airlock. Oh, for crying out loud. There we go. Alright, so let's get our suit and get out of here. Alright, so this time, instead of going to Frostbite, let's go to Nightbridge. Alright, so here's our highly detailed map. It's detailed, I suppose, and I'm not sure, because I'm expecting there to be like some circles for points that I can land on or something, because that's what I had when I go to the teleporter. I'm not seeing anything like that here, so I'm guessing that just wherever I click is where I'm gonna drop in at. So I just double clicked there and it looks like it's gonna drop me in, so let's see. Now the last time we dropped in on the ice planet, there was all sorts of glitchiness and whatnot. And you know, that's textures and the fact that it's in early access. Now, he did state in another post earlier today that they are actually working on right now on creating better textures for pretty much everything, the terrain and the character models, the guns, the weapons, the vehicles. That's great. That's great news to hear. That means that this game could potentially have better graphics than what we see here, so very hopeful there. And I saw something. What was that? Well, okay. Well, it's pretty dark out right now. And as stated before, I did want to show off, and I'm not certain that I actually landed. I don't think I landed where I said I was going to, or wanted to, but whatever. What I did want to show off was that he did add in these, using F4 brings up keyboard controls, so I can see what does what very quickly, very easily right in front of me. That's great. That's actually a pretty nice feature. Applaud him for that. F5 will bring up the actual manual. Again, this is the one that I feel is a bit long-winded, but there it is. And then we got this. This is the quick help that he had stated that I needed to pull up. Well, in my defense, this quick help was not here when I made the review before. That being said, he does go on to say that, plus, I talk too much, most of it rambling. How do you expect anyone to follow anything you were saying or doing is beyond me. Hey, what can I say? This is completely unscripted. I made a video. I talk during the video. That's kind of how it works. People kind of expect you to be talking during the video that you're making for them to view. Whatever. Anyway, clearly this isn't the game for you because you must read the docs. You should go get a refund before you run it too long and lose the opportunity to get one. You know what? Fair enough. You know, I had stated before on another forum that if I'm going to review a game, I feel like I should purchase the game and that I should own that game to be able to review it. I firmly believe that. But he has given me an out, and I'll take it. He obviously doesn't want me to own his game, so after this will be my last and final review of this, and I will go on to something else. So, continuing on before we end this, obviously it's pretty dark out, so I can't see much right now. I think there is actually... whoops, wrong one. I thought I saw something about night vision somewhere at one point. But I'm not seeing it now. Okay. So, what I can tell, however, is that this planet, and maybe it was just the ice planet that I was on before that was as buggy as it was, this one doesn't seem to have anywhere near, even though it's dark out, anywhere near as many issues in terms of clipping and terrain problems and whatnot. So I may have been a little bit ahead of myself there because I hadn't actually checked out any of the other planets. That was the first one I jumped onto. So this one actually does feel like it's working a lot better. I'm also able to move quite a bit better. There being an update done today, there might have been some changes made. He did state that they are in an ongoing process of optimizing this game in general, which totally makes sense. I mean, again, it is an early access game. But again, there's not a lot to do that I'm aware of. I mean, we still need things like missions and whatnot to do. I don't consider this a game that really needs any kind of playtesting whatsoever. It doesn't need to be in early access at this point in time. This is all stuff that they can do on their own. They can run around and look at bugs and glitches all they want without us having to do it for them. They need to put in vehicles. They need to put in missions. They need to put in AI for us to shoot at. They need to put in stuff for us to do that we can playtest. And we can also find bugs with the terrain and with the graphics and whatever else as we go along. This is just not, in my opinion, a kind of game that at this point needs to be in early access. Now, that being said, like I said earlier, I wanted to give it a fair shot. I have. He made a response to my initial video, and I wanted to give his arguments there a fair shot as well. There's absolutely no reason for me not to. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this game. Let me actually see if... Let's see. There was one thing I wanted to try, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do it because I'd have to go back up to the ship or find a backpack or something to do it. Again, it would be something irrelevant, just things like textures for explosions and whatnot, really kind of low in quality, and again, animations being a bit of a problem, but those are all things he claims to be working on, which is, again, a good thing. And if he rolls out another update and there's a bunch of fixes to the graphics and there's some gameplay to actually be had, I will come back and review this if I feel it's worthy of doing so. But with that being said, I do appreciate everybody's time. Thank you for watching. Y'all have a good night.